So let's get started with two exercises that can help you get into this front to back tension transfer. So I'm gonna be setting up in a plank position. You can see one line, not one nice strong line from the hips to the shoulders. That's what we're aiming for. And we're gonna start with activating the back body first. So everything along the back, and you can see that slight transition, activating, tensing up the back body. So everything from the back of the neck all the way down to the heels. And then you transfer, there we go, we transfer the tension to the front body. And again, it's everything along the front that is being activated. So the chest, the core, the front of the leg, the quads, etc., etc. I'm not going to be spending too much time here. You can, if you pay close attention, especially to the low back, and in the legs, you can see the trend. When is the transition happening? You don't have to follow my tempo. You can stay in this position for much longer. I just didn't want to, it's not, and I'm really exaggerating it here, but it's not as obvious as one would want. It's more internal. So I wouldn't want to waste too much of your time seeing me just holding a plank. But feel free to spend more time here or even do it on the floor against the bar or against a stool. Our second exercise is slightly easier. Of course, feel free to sit lower into this supported squat if you like. I try to choose the exercises in this way so you can have an easier and not so easy option to play with. Of course, it gets more difficult if you sit lower. Um, we want to have a full body contact with the wall, and that was another reason I chose this exercise. So you'll be really activating everything that is against the wall if you want to activate the back body plus the legs, so the hamstrings and the calves. And when you transfer the tension to the front body, you will be releasing, allowing for the back body to relax and engage the front body. So it will feel when you're engaging the front that your hamstrings are hanging from your quads. This is not to say that we are working in this only tensed or completely relaxed fashion. There's always the gray areas in between, but and I would love for you to explore that in between stage as you transitioning from back body to front body, but we want to exaggerate those two ends to be able to then tone it down but still keep the fullness that you'll probably start noticing after doing these two exercises for a couple more minutes. So getting in a more tango mode, we're going to do projections to start, then we're going to take it to walks, then we're going to take it to ochos. But we're starting with the obvious. Front body, front projection, back body, back projection. We're going to reverse afterwards. So this follows the same premise as the exercises before. This is an exaggeration, and the back body, I want you to, sometimes check in on it when it's not working, and vice versa for the back projections. Um, Check in on the body the part of the body that is not the one initiating the movement. So here, it's a front projection, front body initiating the movement. Try to notice here and there, take a moment to see how the back body is not just dead weight, but it's still relaxed. So that is one thing. And then the second thing is to really get into activating the whole front body, but without creating too much unnecessary tension. So we are preparing here not to hold, but to move. So we want to have that in mind as well. If we go to the back, same rules apply, of course. Now we're initiating from the back, and the front can relax. So as you're changing that direction, transfer the tension over to the back body and allow for the front body to relax, meaning it's not initiating the movement, but that doesn't mean it is dead weight not being in support of this movement. We're just not really paying attention to it for the time being, just checking in on it, just to check that things are okay. Now, leaders, you'll notice that if you take care of yourself, meaning if you make a decision like I'm doing here to say, I'm going to initiate back steps from the back body. As you're going from forward projections to back projections, try to see what would that mean for your follower. How does it feel to fully activate the body from top to bottom, to lead yourself, and translate that when you're leading your follower? So now we've changed and we're going forward steps, initiating from the back body, back steps, we're going to initiate from the front body. And you can see the difference that creates in the posture. So this is can you possibly imagine when we need this type of forward projection? In the previous one, when you're initiating from the front body, you're going. It was quite difficult to hold back. Now it is quite easy to hold back. And this is where we would use this step when we want to use this option, when we want to create a big step. So you want to hold this position of the projection without compromising without compromising your posture, without compromising the base until you're ready to go. So you want to establish this position through activating the back body, establish the base, and then expand into a much larger than normal size step compared to the one before where uh, we were establishing a normal size step. So we're using both in Tango, but for a different purpose, to create a slightly different kind of step. So we're going to transition to moving towards the back, and it's going to be a back projection initiated from the front body. And again, here you can see how I'm holding on to the base. I am not letting go until I have fully explored the extension and possibly you've seen this happen, slide back. So it's not an immediate step like the one we did before. It goes beyond the normal size of a step. Now, the other thing, you've probably seen this used in posing, like the large lunges that we see in Tango scenario. You need to, this is a technique, movement technique, where you want to create the appropriate means to hold the position, not to go into action. So we're going to go between the two, back body versus front body. And now you can see it, right? Back body, create the means to hold the position until you're ready to expand and go. Front body, let's see it. 1 second. Front body, we're ready to go. See how it's immediate? It's obvious that we're ready to go. So I'm going to be inviting you to play with this just to understand the difference of creating the necessary adjustments to hold a position and then step, and compared to stepping right away. Both are very, very important, very necessary in tango. We're doing the same thing here, ready to go in a back step, holding in order to expand. So feel free to add as many reps as you need to in this one. It's very important to build an understanding of how you can transition between the two. This simple type of stop, simple with many quotes around them, will allow you using just walks to play with the music. But you need to be able to create it within your own body. And again, leaders, this is for you. As you are going from front to back, try to bring yourself into the follower's shoes. Try to play the follower's role here for a little bit, and you will see that if you manage to clearly lead yourself, clearly connect the dots between the upper and the lower body, it will be evident to the follower what she needs to do or what he needs to do. So it is important to be able to manage within our bodies that decision. Are we going to initiate from the front body or from the back body? And how does that change our posture and change our movement? Are we building the base in order to expand, or are we ready to move? And I'm not leaving you out of this, followers. Of course, this is equally important for you. So put yourselves into a leader's shoes, and um, try to create that sensitivity within your own body as you're going to between those two variations. Most of the times as followers we think straight to our feet, and we just try not to do anything with the body so we don't disrupt what the leader is doing. But that's a very wrong understanding of how things work. You need your body to participate, you need your body to be active, but not to backlead. So this exercise, if you if you if you keep this in mind, it will help you create that sensitivity in order to understand what your leader is, what your leader's intentions are. So it is almost again taking a moment to leading yourself through these transitions from the front body to the back, from the front step to the back step. And some no normal walking. You can just so you can see how the two look like. I'm sure you can recognize them. It's also good to just take a moment and just practice your walk like you would do, but using the two different movement techniques. Um, so You can also put some music on and do a little dance. So you can see here how I'm setting up the base, sliding forward into the step. So I am pretty sure you've seen this many times. This is how you do it, or this is one of the ways to do it. So one thing that I would like to point out to you right here is that when you're going in the back step, I want you to notice here in this freehold version that you're not just throwing the body forward. You see that it's not that big of a difference compared to what we were doing before, but it's front loading the step, if we can say it that way, not just tilting forward. Pay attention to that. So it is ocho time. So set up in your forward ocho position. And again, just like we did in the steps, we start with front step or front ocho, front body, back ocho, back body, because it is the easiest pairing to start with. Again, you'll notice the similarities of what they've talked about between forward ochos and forward steps, back ochos and back steps. That the front body is a choice that we would make if we're looking to move immediately. We're not looking to create a hold in the movement in order to create a longer step, for example, or for some other reason, possibly for a pose or what have you. So here, I want you to take a moment to suspend and completely relax the back body, then let it go. So you do, it's a really interesting exercise. It will show you how much tension you're holding. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go completely, and then go. So all of us, and you can see how much my body is shifting. It's changing when I'm actually making the choice to let go of some tension. And see, let's see it here. Oh, there we go. Nothing happens. You just go for that step. And if you're doing it properly, that step will be like woof, very dynamic, because you were not being prepared to hold here. You're preparing yourself to move, right? So that is quite an interesting concept that can help you release unnecessary tension while you're doing your normal forward ochos without a suspension, plus to see where that change of dynamics can fit in your dance. You want too much of it, you want less of it, you play with it. Now, back ochos, back body initiating the movement, just like we did in our steps. This give yourself some time to find it. The twist can add a little bit more of difficulty here. So you give yourself some time to find it. But just like in our forward steps or back steps that we did before, don't expect a full relaxation here. We'll play with it here instead. So after a couple of rounds that you just practice the projection and pairing it with the body, suspend and completely relax the front body. For me, this point of the exercise was a revelation. It was like, wow, I've been holding so much tension that I hadn't even realized, and a lot of it can be let go and nothing will happen. So that is a little bit, that is something to be examined further, possibly from each of us separately in our own practice. But put the question mark there by working in this suspended mode right here. Release as much as you can. Let it go. You have a bar there. You have an artificial partner who won't complain. Let it go. See where that takes you. Um, feel feel free to exaggerate even more than me, just so you can get as many details as possible. Remember, this is not a dance. This is a practice, and you want as many details as many details as possible to come out of it. And then you just do your back ochos, initiating from the back body. See if they are in any way affected by the suspension moment of the exercise. Hopefully they are, but don't worry if there aren't. Maybe you need to go back and spend some time suspending. So forward ochos, back body initiating the projection. Similar to the forward steps, actually the same as the forward steps, as you are expecting, this is something that allows us to hold and expand the step. So slide, slide forward, create bigger steps, and this is as important as the previous one, because it allows for a larger window for leaders to do like really deep sacadas. It allows for really interesting big ochos. It allows for stretchiness in the movement that is often called for by the music. So, by finding and refining these variations of forward steps and forward ochos, you are opening the door to more musical variations, potentially, right? So, but in order to do that, let's see that suspension here. Back body is initiating, completely relax the front. See what happens. See how that step became that much larger? So that doesn't mean that, when we're dancing, we're completely letting go. It means, though, that sometimes, let's see, let's see it happen once again. Sometimes we might be holding just a little bit too much. So if you go back and see how I was performing this step without the suspension and then with the suspension, this step is way larger. And sometimes that is needed. That is very much needed. That is something that as a leader you might need to go into a big sacada, and you need that extra large step, or as a follower you need to create the window for a bigger sacada, or you need to follow your leader into a really large step. So large steps do not mean more tension. Large steps mean proper proper use of the body, creating the possibility to hold a position like we're doing here. So initiating, for example, back steps from the front body, front loading this projection so you can actually stay over the front while you're expanding towards the back, vice versa for a forward step. This allows you to be prepared to hold compared to before where you're preparing to move. So going back and forth with this in a walk or in the ochos, playing with this suspension process, where in this case, for example, you completely relax the back body. You see how this transforms into something a little bit more elastic. So we want elasticity, we want suspension, we want stretchiness in the movement. It's just that and we want to always be ready to move, of course. Uh, so how does all of this get balanced out? That's the overall question, I think, because we're not only dancing with the back body or with the front body. All the time there is a good balance within our bodies, and this is the purpose of this video, to understand that balance and to feel that fullness, combining the work we did last week with left and right with the work that we're doing now with front and back. And last but not least, of course, just go between the two, forward with front body, forward with back body, back with front body, back with back body. Just play with it. You can put some music on, see how a decision can change your movement completely. And again, leaders, put yourselves in a follower's shoes. Followers, put yourselves in a leader's shoes. Try to connect the dots. Try to go beyond the technique tip and let this practice inform your next dance. Feel free to exaggerate like I'm doing here, trying to better understand how strong these tools of tension and relaxation can be, and which one is the tool you should be looking for every time.